righty. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Reidox4life Podcast. And we're your hosts. I am Levi, and this is Lamika Renee. And our main topic today is how service providers are making a difference in their community. All righty. So and today our special guest is April Michele. She's a digital creator, and she is making things happen in that world.
Yes. So hi, April. How are you?
Hello. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I'm sure our viewers would love to know who April Michele is and what inspired you to venture into the career path that you're in.
Awesome. Yes. So my name is April Jones, and there's so many facets to me. Who knows who I am at any given time? But I entered the realm of social services by happenstance. I had a lot of other avenues that I was trying prior, and I just so happened to get a college counselor that was just amazing. I really loved her. She saw that I really had a passion to try to help, but I just didn't know how at the time. And so she just began to work with me, began to really meet with me, ask a lot of questions, asked about my vision, my past, and all of those things. And just eventually just said, hey, I want you to go to this class. And I want you to try it. It was Intro to Social Work. And I was just thinking, Intro to Social Work, I don't know. That just never came to mind. But I went to the class, never looked back. This has been an amazing journey for me. I started out in the Department of Child Services. I ended up receiving a scholarship from them for my undergrad. And then after that, I went and transitioned there into a job there. And, you hear a lot about Department of Child Services and people's experiences and things of that nature, but I'm a firm believer of you make it what it is for you. And so from the moment I began there, I just dressed for where I wanted to go. And I operated for where I wanted to go and what I wanted to know and learn. And I did really well there. I moved up pretty well in terms of training and things like that. And then from there, I knew that I wanted to eventually own my own business. So I thought, hey, let me get some more experience with juveniles. So I moved on to a position with juveniles. And then from there, I ended up contracting with the Department of Child Services.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, that was some career path right there. So, okay, to say the least, your former coworkers probably miss you a whole lot then, huh?
Nah, a lot of them probably aren't there. They have a turnover there, a pretty high turnover, unfortunately.
News, man. So anyway, you had a college scholarship from the Department of Child Services,
yes,
which helped you. Let me ask you this: did that encourage you to stay? Let me back up. During your process of going through your education, and also your study, also your work at the Child Services Department. Did it ever cross your mind, hey, this is not where I really want to be, but this is where my heart is leading me to be at this time? And did you ever try to fight that?
No, because I understood one thing, regardless of how they operated or what other people thought of it, I understood that in the social service industry, having the Department of Child Services on your resume was a door opener to anything else you wanted to do. And I put that to test when I moved on to Choices. I was immediately hired. I had DCS on my resume, and it definitely speaks volumes in this social service community, because the majority of organizations that work with, the community, whether it be drug abuse or mental health or whatever, most of them have a contract with DCS.
Yeah, it takes a unique person to really jump into the field of social work. So I commend you for that, and kudos to you.
Yes.
Yes. So what is the one thing that you wish you knew on the onset of your career?
One thing I wish I knew more about, I will say I knew a little bit about it, but I wish I had more of an education on the disproportionality of the system, and just the oppression of communities of color.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes, it is definitely, lopsided to say the least.
Yes.
Depending on who you're talking to, I guess.
Well, statistics are pretty mind-blowing. So I always refer to that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure they are. Too. Oh man. Well,
yeah. So great. Yeah, that is great. And again, it takes a special, not just unique type of person, because we all know that social services, when you're in that field, especially social work, the pay is not that great, but the love for what you're doing, it outweighs everything else. So
yes. Well, I just kind of live by something my mom always teaches. Never choose something based on pay, choose something based on passion, and your passion will lead you to the pay, because I have not done shabby in this industry. And I think it's kind of a myth for that to be stated all the time. You hear that a lot in school, and not that some of that is not true, because depending on what part of social services you go into, no, we're not being paid, NFL salaries or anything like that. But there is money to be made in the industry. But I just believe that you have to be passionate about it first. And, they say greater is later. So I just say, let it lead you to where it's going to lead you to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, it's health and wellness, and it's mental health, and the trends are changing, and actually you are in the right path of that trend. So I would like to ask you, what is the biggest challenge in your line of work?
I would say I'll go back to just the disproportionality. The biggest challenge is awareness and access, and also just the power dynamic of those who are from a diverse background and who's providing the services. And just ensuring that there's equity in services. All of that is pretty challenging. Just with mental health per se, everyone being able to have access to therapy and the amount of therapy, if you do have access. A lot of times, even though you may have access to it, there's a limit on how much access you have. And so that's challenging, in that mental health doesn't stop at 8 sessions. And so what's next for that person? What's out here outside of that they can tap into and still receive those services? Because, it's no secret that therapy services are not cheap if you're paying out of pocket. So, not that they're extensively expensive, but for the average individual who has other bills, to have to pay, upwards of $80 to $160 an hour every week, which is, if you're really in a crisis or you really have some traumatic things you need to process, you need to see that person weekly. So that can be challenging sometimes, for us and, for the individual.
Yes, definitely. It absolutely, man. Hey, so what have you seen since? Okay, you've been in there for some years. Is that correct? You've been there for
Over upwards of 20 years.
years. Okay, man. From the time you started to where you see things are today, has it been a dramatic shift, or the more things change, the more they stay the same?
I think there has been some shift. To what extent of the shift? I don't know. It just depends. It depends on what element you're speaking on. If you're talking about addictions, well, they're throwing everything at addictions, at the opioid addiction. I want to be clear which addiction we're speaking on, because that's important. They're throwing everything, the book, the pie, and everything else. So it just depends on what realm you're speaking on. But then again, you have the issue of the number of individuals that can serve that population, because then you have an insufficient amount of licensed individuals that can actually serve you. So there's a lot of things that need to still be worked out. But I do see things changing. You have the National Association of Social Workers that have worked hard to bring about the ability to now take your license anywhere coming up in 2023. As it stands right now, I can be licensed here, but I can only practice here and call it therapy. Now I can see someone in another state, but it has to now be coaching. That will change in 2023. At what point, I don't know. But to the point where I'll be able to service someone no matter what state they're in, and I don't have to go and test again. So, that's a big help, because mental health is, a lot of the providers are overwhelmed. So you have long waiting lists for people to be seen.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's encouraging that you get to, travel outside of the state and do some work without traveling, outside of the state, right? You can do it remotely. And so have you found yourself doing that, outreaching, to other states to, to assist?
So, right now I'm in the midst of obtaining licensure, getting those hours, completing my master's in social work. So right now with me, my outreach leans more towards the coaching realm than it does the therapeutic realm. So that's the extent of my outreach at this point. Besides just, I have a lot of friends that are in this field in other places. So a lot of times I join with them on a lot of things that they have going on, a lot of events and activities that they're doing, just on the level that I'm on currently. But yes.
Okay, Dan.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're changing that policy to where you can go anywhere, without having to test or retest. So that's phenomenal.
That's huge. Yeah. That's huge. And reason being for me that I love that is I believe that all therapists need a therapist. And so it's just so coincidental that my actual person is in another state and we meet under the coaching umbrella.
That's great news. That's great news, man. That's good.
Yes.
That's good, man. So how long has this been talked about as far as, being able to cross state lines with your license? How long has that been in conversation to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I know upwards of 5 years. Just because you look at trends and, the trend of teletherapy was on the horizon, but it really became monumental during COVID. I think COVID definitely pushed it over.
Yeah.
And so with that, I know that they definitely were pushing even harder at that point.
Yes. Definitely. Well, I know COVID woke a lot of people up, and It brought
Yes.
a lot of things to the attention of a lot of people.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because at that point you couldn't leave your home, you know, a lot of things had changed. And like I said, people were in need of therapy, you know, just due to everything that was going on, not just COVID, but, you know, all the issues with, you know, racial lines and all of that. So it's just been a heavy 3 years. And so to be able to open that up is monumental. And just to have teletherapy be something that we actually are doing is a huge help to the industry.
Excellent. So how has this worked into being a digital creator? How have all that been necessary for you to be a digital creator? That's another hat you wear.
So I am a firm believer that we are gifted in more than just one thing in our lives.
Yes.
I love fashion. So I always have. That was my first major. That was what I originally went to school for. And I went to school. I started off at Tennessee State, and then found myself in Atlanta for a little bit. But just the opportunities in that field just did not resonate with me in terms of spending a lot of money on school to then have to start, you know, as a salesman, you know, at Nordstrom. That just didn't resonate with me. And so at the time I was young, you know, I really wasn't thinking outside of the box at the time, you know, and so I just said, you know what, no. So now it's circling back. We, and when I say we, me and a good friend of mine started an online boutique. And so that has led to me having to be on this vicious cycle of, you know, being on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Trust me, I have a love-hate relationship with it. So trust, I am not that person that is like, woo, let's, you know, but I understand, you know, the benefits of it. And so, you know, I'm just putting my, you know, feet in there and getting my little toes wet and trying to figure that whole thing out. So trust, if you see me on there looking like a blithering idiot, is because, you know, hey.
Well, you know what? That's a crowded space right there. So,
I just like laugh at myself. I'm just like, post it anyway. I don't care.
Definitely. So anyway, that is great. That's great news. I'm glad to hear it. And, you know, glad to see that you were, you know, able to, you know, work both and to be passionate about both. You know.
Yes. You know, I think they both go hand in hand, because not only do you mentally need to feel good, but you need to also look good. And, you know, a lot of your mental, all of that plays a hand in each other. You know, if you look good, you feel good. I mean, it's not the end all and be all, but it's a part of it.
Yes, definitely. You know, I want to ask you one question here. And when you're creating your content, how much do your experience and your passion for being a therapist, you know, and helping others, how much does that play into your critical thinking and, you know, before you make the decision to put the content out?
A lot. Because I know how much it's played in my life. And just to be transparent, you know, I haven't always felt okay. You know, I know what it is to be depressed, you know, and I know what it is to struggle to get up and put lipstick on or put something nice on or just want to just lay in the bed all day. So I know how much just doing that, just, you know, I always tell people, if you can't do anything else, you know, if you're strapped for finances and you're depressed and you're not feeling good, just go buy yourself a lipstick, you know, buy the cheapest thing. You'll be amazed just how just putting a little lipstick on will brighten your whole day. it plays a part in your well-being. When you look good, you feel good, and that's not just cliche. It all goes together though. So that plays a big part, because I also want people to know you don't have to be perfect for Instagram, because I'm not. You can point out a whole lot of stuff I do on there that's not. And you just have to just be comfortable with yourself and just say, it's going out. I don't have anyone to portray a certain way for. I've always been a firm believer of, if they don't put food on your table and they don't pay your light bill, it really shouldn't make you never mind. Just put it on out there, because trust me, they have some things that you just don't know about. We all do. If you're human and living this life every day, you are living life, and life is full of ups and downs, good and bad. This whole happiness, happy moment that we're in, it's just not realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's excellent, man. That is great to hear, and that is a good note right there. Tamika, you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think where she's at in her life and what she's doing is going to impact the world. So congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to you guys. You guys are impacting the world with the inside. You have to also live well, eat well, be well. It's all in conjunction. Your mind, your health, the outside, everything, it all comes together. It's called a wellness. The 9 phases of wellness? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to have all 9 of them.
Yes. You know what? And that's going to be the homework right there. Learn what all 9 phases of wellness is. Then report back to us.
Report it back.
Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You have Michele, the Michele Jones.
Yes.
Tell listeners, where can we get a hold of Michele Jones?
So I am on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok at the Chic Tags Clothing or the April Michele.
There you go, folks. There you have it. If you need some therapy, or if you want to look good and feel good and get dressed up and go to therapy, Michele is the person.